There is a moment in every person's life when they finally become tired. Tired of being the one who always understands. Tired of being the one who always forgives. Tired of being the one who stays quiet to keep the peace while everyone else gets comfortable disrespecting them. You let things slide. You give people second chances, then third chances. You explain yourself. You try to be reasonable. You try to be kind. You try to understand where everyone else is coming from. And slowly, without even realizing it, you teach people something dangerous. You teach them that they can cross your boundaries without consequences, that they can speak to you however they want, that they can lie to you, manipulate you, use your kindness, disappear when they need to take responsibility, and return whenever they need something from you. And you will still be there, still available, still explaining, still forgiving, still hoping that one day they will finally treat you the way you have been treating them. But the Stoics understood something most people learn far too late. You cannot force people to respect you. You cannot argue someone into valuing you. You cannot beg a manipulator to stop manipulating you. And you cannot become powerful while constantly handing your power to people who have proven they do not deserve it. This is why Stoicism is not about becoming weak. It is not about allowing people to insult you while you sit quietly and pretend you are above it. It is not about becoming a doormat with philosophical quotes. Stoicism is about something far more powerful. It is about becoming so disciplined in your mind that other people's behavior no longer controls your identity, your emotions, or your decisions. You become calm enough to see manipulation clearly, strong enough to say no without guilt, wise enough to stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, and disciplined enough to walk away from anyone who repeatedly proves that they only value access to you, not you. Today, we are going through 7 Stoic rules that will help you become unstoppable and stop being walked over. Not by becoming cruel, not by becoming arrogant, not by becoming toxic yourself, but by becoming a person that manipulation no longer works on. Because the most dangerous person to a manipulator is not the loudest person in the room. It is the person who can no longer be controlled. 1. Stop explaining yourself to people benefit from misunderstanding you. One of the easiest ways to lose your power is to constantly explain yourself. You explain why you said something. You explain why you made a decision. You explain why you are no longer available. You explain why you were hurt. You explain why you need distance. You explain your intentions. You explain your boundaries. And the more you explain, the more the manipulator asks for. You answer one question, they create another. You clarify one misunderstanding, they invent another. You defend one decision, they attack the next one. And before long, you are standing in front of someone who has no intention of understanding you, desperately trying to convince them that you are not the villain they have decided to make you. This is the trap. You believe the problem is that they do not understand, so you explain more. But sometimes the problem is not a lack of information. Sometimes the problem is that the other person benefits from misunderstanding you. They already know what you meant. They simply do not like the fact that your decision no longer benefits them. There is a difference. When a reasonable person misunderstands you, clarification can solve the problem. But when a manipulative person misunderstands you, clarification often gives them more material to use against you. Every explanation becomes another sentence they can twist. Every weakness you reveal becomes another button they can press. Every reason you give becomes something they can argue against. You say, I can't do that because I'm tired. They say, you're always tired when I need you. You say, I need some time alone. They say, so you don't care about me anymore? You say, I don't agree with what you did. They say, so now you think you're better than everyone. You say, no. They say, why not? You explain. They challenge. You explain again. And now you are no longer making a decision. You are asking permission to make one. The Stoic understands that there is a difference between communicating and seeking approval. You can communicate your decision without begging someone to accept it. You can say, no, I won't be doing that, and stop there. You can say, that doesn't work for me, and stop there. You can say, I've made my decision, and stop there. Not every decision requires a courtroom defense. Not every boundary needs a 10-minute explanation. And not every person deserves access to the deepest reasons behind your choices. The more you need someone to agree with your boundary before you enforce it, the less power that boundary has. Remember this, a boundary is not something you convince someone to respect. A boundary is what you do when they don't. You do not need to make a toxic person understand why you are leaving. You do not need to make a manipulator agree that they manipulated you. You do not need to make someone who disrespected you admit that they disrespected you before you decide to step away. Your life is not a courtroom. You do not need to win every case before you are allowed to leave the room. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that we should focus on what is within our control. You cannot control whether someone understands you. You cannot control whether they approve of your decision. You cannot control whether they tell other people a false version of the story. But you can control whether you continue to stand there trying to convince them. And sometimes, the most powerful explanation is no explanation at all. Not because you are afraid to speak, because you have finally realized that your peace is more valuable than their approval. 2. Never give someone else control of your emotional state. A toxic person does not always control you by giving you orders. Sometimes they control you by pushing your emotional buttons. They know exactly what to say. They know what makes you angry. They know what makes you insecure. They know how to make you feel guilty. They know how to make you question yourself. And once they discover that a particular behavior produces a particular reaction, they can use that behavior whenever they want. They insult you, you react. They become the victim. You defend yourself. They accuse you of being aggressive. You explain yourself. They accuse you of being defensive. You become frustrated. They tell everyone that you are unstable. Now notice what happened. They created the situation. You reacted to it. And somehow, you became the problem. This is one of the oldest forms of manipulation. Provocation. A person pushes you until you react, then uses your reaction as evidence against you. And the moment you understand this, you stop playing the game. The Stoic does not believe that every emotion deserves immediate action. You can feel anger without becoming anger. You can feel insulted without immediately seeking revenge. You can feel disrespected without giving another person the satisfaction of watching you lose control. This is not weakness. This is power. Anyone can react. The child reacts. The impulsive person reacts. The insecure person reacts. But it takes discipline to pause, to breathe, to observe what is happening, to ask, what is this person trying to make me feel? What will happen if I react the way they expect? Am I responding to this situation, or am I being controlled by it? This pause can change your entire life. Because between what happens to you and what you do next, there is a space. And inside that space is your freedom. A toxic person may insult you, but they cannot force you to give them an emotional performance. A manipulator may accuse you, but they cannot force you to defend yourself for an hour. Someone may try to provoke you, but they cannot control the response you choose. And when you stop reacting predictably, you become difficult to manipulate. This is why calmness is so powerful. Not because calm people are incapable of anger, but because they are not slaves to it. They can feel the emotion without surrendering their judgment. They can recognize disrespect without allowing the disrespectful person to determine their behavior. And this is where many people become confused. They believe that if they do not respond aggressively, they have lost. No, you have lost when someone else can push a button inside you whenever they want. You have lost when your entire day depends on how another person treats you. You have lost when one message can destroy your peace. You have lost when you spend hours rehearsing arguments with people who are not even thinking about you anymore. The Stoic does not ask, how do I make this person feel what I feel? The Stoic asks, why am I allowing this person to control my mind? That question changes everything. Because the moment you reclaim control of your emotional state, you take away one of the most powerful weapons toxic people have, your reaction. 3. Stop rewarding disrespect with access to you. People learn how to treat you by observing what you tolerate. This is not always comfortable to hear, but it is necessary. If someone repeatedly disrespects you, and you continue giving them the same access to your time, attention, energy, and life, you are teaching them that disrespect has no cost. They insult you. You stay. They lie to you. You forgive them. They use you. You remain available. They disappear when you need them. You welcome them back the moment they need something. And then you wonder, why do they keep treating me this way? Because the behavior keeps working. This does not mean that every mistake requires permanent exile. People make mistakes. Good people can hurt you. Healthy relationships require forgiveness. But there is a difference between forgiving a mistake and repeatedly volunteering to experience the same pattern. Forgiveness does not require continued access. You can forgive someone and still stop trusting them. You can wish someone well and still remove them from your life. You can release your anger without reopening the door. The Stoic understands that forgiveness and access are not the same thing. This is especially important when dealing with toxic people. A manipulator often wants to keep access to you even after losing the right to your trust. They may apologize, they may become emotional, they may promise that everything will change. And sometimes they genuinely mean it. But words are not evidence of transformation. Patterns are evidence. Do not judge a person only by the apology they give after hurting you. Judge them by what they repeatedly do when they believe you will tolerate it. Because anyone can apologize when they fear losing access. The real question is, what happens when they get comfortable again? This is why the Stoic pays attention to patterns, not promises, not emotional speeches, not dramatic declarations, patterns. A person who repeatedly disrespects you is giving you information. A person who only contacts you when they need something is giving you information. A person who constantly creates chaos and then blames you for reacting to it is giving you information. A person who repeatedly crosses your boundaries and then calls you cruel when you enforce them is giving you information. You do not need to hate them. You need to believe what they are showing you. This is one of the most important rules of self-respect. Stop arguing with the evidence. If someone shows you who they are repeatedly, stop trying to turn their behavior into an exception. The Stoic does not waste his life trying to extract loyalty from people who have already demonstrated their priorities. He observes, he accepts reality, then he acts accordingly. And this is how you stop being walked over. You stop rewarding behavior that harms you. Your attention becomes earned. Your trust becomes earned. Your time becomes valuable. Your presence is no longer automatic. You are not punishing people. You are simply refusing to keep paying for a relationship with your peace. 4. Say no without feeling guilty. Many people are not being walked over because they are weak. They are being walked over because they are terrified of disappointing people. They say yes when they want to say no. They accept invitations they do not want. They take on responsibilities they cannot handle. They lend money they cannot afford to lose. They tolerate conversations they should have ended. They remain in relationships that destroy their peace. And every time they say yes to someone else, they say no to themselves. Then resentment begins. They resent the people they keep helping. They resent the people who keep asking. They resent the people who take advantage of them. But the difficult truth is that sometimes they have never clearly communicated where their limits are. A boundary that exists only in your mind is not a boundary other people can respect. You may think they should know better. Maybe they should. But you still have to decide what you will do. The Stoic understands that saying no is not an act of cruelty. It is an act of clarity. No does not mean I hate you. No does not mean you are a bad person. No simply means I am not available for that. And you do not need to feel guilty for having limits. You are not obligated to sacrifice your peace to prove that you are a good person. You are not required to destroy yourself to be considered kind. You can be generous without being exploitable. You can be compassionate without being controlled. You can help people without becoming their permanent solution. The problem is that many people have confused kindness with self-abandonment. They believe that being a good person means always being available. But if your kindness requires you to constantly betray yourself, it is no longer kindness. It is fear. Fear that people will leave. Fear that they will become angry. Fear that they will call you selfish. Fear that they will stop needing you. And toxic people know how to use this fear. They say, after everything I've done for you, if you really cared, you would. You're selfish, you're changing, you're not the person you used to be. And suddenly, you abandon your own boundary to prove that you are not the person they just accused you of being. This is manipulation. And the cure is not becoming heartless. The cure is becoming comfortable with being misunderstood. You can say, I understand that you're disappointed. My answer is still no. You can say, I know you don't agree. My decision remains the same. You can say, I'm not going to argue about this. You can say, I've already answered, and then stop. Do not turn your no into a negotiation, because a weak no is simply a yes waiting to happen. If you say no but continue arguing for 30 minutes, the other person learns that your decision is negotiable. If you say no and then apologize repeatedly, they learn that your boundary makes you uncomfortable. If you say no and immediately offer 5 alternatives to make them happy, they learn that pressure works. Your no does not need to be aggressive. It needs to be final. And when you become comfortable saying no, something changes. You stop attracting people who only value what you provide. You stop being available to every crisis. You stop allowing guilt to make your decisions. And for the first time, you begin to understand that peace is not something you find. It is something you protect. 5. Stop chasing respect from people who will benefit from disrespecting you. One of the most exhausting things a person can do is try to earn respect from someone who has already decided not to give it. You work harder, you become more successful. You explain yourself better, you become more generous, you become more patient. You try to prove your value, and still, they move the goalpost. You achieve something, they minimize it. You help them, they expect more. You set a boundary, they call you selfish. You remain calm, they call you cold. You speak up, they call you difficult. You stay quiet, they call you weak. At some point, you have to understand, this is not a respect problem. This is an access problem. They have become so comfortable receiving from you that they no longer recognize the value of what you provide. And the more you try to prove your worth, the more you place yourself beneath their judgment. The Stoic does not build his identity around the opinions of people who have not earned the authority to define him. This does not mean you should ignore all criticism. Wise people listen, but there is a difference between constructive criticism and constant devaluation. One helps you grow, the other keeps you insecure, and you need to learn the difference. Some people do not want you to improve. They want you to remain insecure enough to remain useful to them. Because insecure people are easier to control. They need approval. They fear abandonment. They apologize for existing. They accept poor treatment because they believe they may not find better. But the moment you stop needing someone to validate your worth, their power over you begins to disappear. You do not need to announce your value. You do not need to tell everyone how much you have done. You do not need to force someone to recognize what they lost. Sometimes the most powerful response to disrespect is improvement without explanation. You become stronger. You become wiser. You become more disciplined. You become more selective. And you stop returning to the people who only appreciate you after losing access to you. This is not revenge. Revenge keeps you emotionally connected to the person who hurt you. Freedom is different. Freedom is when their opinion no longer determines your direction. Remember, you cannot force someone to respect you, but you can decide that you will no longer participate in relationships where disrespect is the price of admission. And once you make that decision, you become much harder to control. 6. Become comfortable with being misunderstood. This rule may be the hardest because most people want to be understood. They want their family to understand them, their friends to understand them, their partner to understand them, their colleagues to understand them. They want everyone to know that they are not bad, that they had good intentions, that they were hurt, that they were trying, that there is more to the story. And sometimes there is, but you can spend your entire life trying to correct every false opinion. You can waste years trying to prove that you are a good person to people committed to seeing you as the villain. You can spend your life chasing the approval of people who have already made their judgment. The Stoic understands that other people's opinions are outside your control. You can behave with integrity. You can tell the truth. You can do your best. And someone can still misunderstand you. Someone can still criticize you. Someone can still lie about you. Someone can still decide that they do not like you. This is the price of being free. You cannot control the story people tell about you, but you can control whether you become a slave to that story. Toxic people often use misunderstanding as a weapon. They know you want to be seen as good, so they accuse you of being selfish. They know you want to be seen as kind, so they call your boundary cruel. They know you want to be seen as loyal, so they accuse you of betrayal when you finally walk away. And if you are desperate to correct their opinion, they control you, because now they can make you dance simply by misrepresenting you. The more they accuse, the more you explain. The more you explain, the more they accuse, and the cycle never ends. At some point, you have to say, "They are allowed to be wrong about me." That sentence can set you free. They are allowed to misunderstand you. They are allowed to dislike you. They are allowed to tell their version of the story, and you are allowed to continue living according to your values. The Stoic does not ask, "Does everyone approve of me?" The Stoic asks, "Am I acting according to my principles?" That is a much more powerful question. Because if your entire identity depends on other people's approval, then you do not own yourself, they do. Every criticism controls you. Every insult controls you. Every rejection controls you. Every rumor controls you. But when your character becomes your foundation, external opinions lose their power. You no longer need everyone to see you correctly. You only need to know whether you are living correctly, and this is one of the greatest forms of strength. To walk away from a conversation without proving your innocence. To leave a relationship without convincing everyone that you were right. To stop defending yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. To accept that some people will never see your value, and to continue anyway. 7. Become the person who can walk away. This is the final rule, and it is the rule that changes everything. You become difficult to manipulate when you are willing to leave, not because you want to leave, not because you are trying to intimidate someone, but because you know that you will survive if you do. A person who believes they cannot walk away can be controlled. If you believe you cannot survive without a particular person, they have power over you. If you believe you cannot survive being alone, you may accept terrible company. If you believe you cannot survive losing a job, you may tolerate endless disrespect. If you believe you cannot survive someone's disapproval, you may betray your own values to keep them happy. But the moment you realize, I may not want to lose this person, but I will not lose myself to keep them, everything changes. This is the foundation of Stoic strength. You appreciate what you have without becoming a slave to it. You love people without believing that you own them. You value relationships without believing that your identity depends on them. You can enjoy success without believing that failure will destroy you. You can appreciate comfort without becoming incapable of surviving discomfort. The Stoics practiced this kind of mental preparation. They reminded themselves that everything external is temporary, not to become pessimistic, to become free. Because when you understand that nothing outside you is guaranteed forever, you stop clinging so desperately, and desperation makes people easy to manipulate. The person who is terrified of losing someone will accept almost anything to keep them. The person who is terrified of being alone will tolerate anyone. The person who is terrified of rejection will betray themselves for approval. But the person who can walk away becomes powerful, not because they are cold, because they are no longer trapped. You do not have to leave every difficult situation. You do not have to abandon people the moment things become uncomfortable. Strength is not always walking away. Sometimes strength is staying and doing the difficult work, but you should never stay because you believe you have no choice. That is the difference. Stay because you choose to. Leave because you choose to. Give because you choose to. Forgive because you choose to. And when your actions come from choice instead of fear, you become free. The person who can walk away cannot easily be blackmailed by loneliness, cannot easily be controlled by guilt, cannot easily be trapped by manipulation, cannot easily be destroyed by rejection, because they understand something powerful. I may lose something I love, but I will not lose myself to keep it. That is when you become unstoppable. Now understand what these 7 rules are really teaching you. They are not teaching you to become cold. They are not teaching you to become arrogant. They are not teaching you to treat people badly. They are teaching you to stop abandoning yourself. Stop explaining yourself to people who benefit from misunderstanding you. Stop giving other people control over your emotional state. Stop rewarding disrespect with unlimited access to you. Learn to say no without guilt. Stop chasing respect from people who benefit from devaluing you. Become comfortable with being misunderstood, and become the person who can walk away. These rules do not make you perfect. You will still feel anger. You will still feel disappointment. You will still be hurt. You will still care. You will still experience rejection. The difference is that those experiences will no longer automatically control you. You will feel the emotion. Then you will choose your response. You will see the manipulation. Then you will stop participating. You will recognize the disrespect. Then you will decide what access that person deserves. You will hear the criticism. Then you will ask whether it contains truth. You will lose someone. Then you will grieve without destroying yourself. You will be misunderstood. Then you will continue living according to your values. This is what it means to become unstoppable. It does not mean that nothing bad ever happens to you. It means that fewer and fewer things can control who you become. A toxic person can create chaos, but they cannot force you to live in it. A manipulator can make demands, but they cannot force you to obey. A disrespectful person can insult you, but they cannot determine your worth. Someone can reject you, but they cannot decide your future. Someone can leave, but they cannot take your entire identity with them. You are not powerful because you control other people. You are powerful because you no longer need to. And the next time someone tries to manipulate you, remember this. You do not have to react immediately. You do not have to explain everything. You do not have to prove your worth. You do not have to accept disrespect to prove that you are kind. You do not have to remain available to people who only value what they can take from you. And you do not have to remain in any situation simply because you are afraid of what happens after you leave. You have more control than you think, but you must stop giving it away. Your attention is power. Your time is power. Your emotional energy is power. Your presence is power. Your response is power. And the moment you stop giving these things freely to people who abuse them, your entire life begins to change. You become quieter, not because you have nothing to say, because you no longer need to explain your every move. You become calmer, not because nothing hurts, because you no longer allow every pain to dictate your behavior. You become more selective, not because you think you are better than everyone, because you finally understand that access to your life should mean something. And you become stronger, not because you never fall, because you no longer stay on the ground waiting for someone else to give you permission to stand. Remember the ultimate Stoic lesson. You may not control what people do. You may not control what people say. You may not control whether people respect you, but you control what you tolerate. You control where you place your attention. You control the meaning you give to events. You control your response, and you control whether you continue giving your power to the people who keep proving they will misuse it. So stop begging to be respected. Become respectable to yourself. Stop chasing people who only value you when they need you. Stop explaining yourself to people who have already chosen their version of you. Stop allowing guilt to make your decisions. Stop confusing kindness with weakness. Stop confusing forgiveness with continued access. And stop believing that walking away means you lost. Sometimes walking away is the first time you finally choose yourself. You do not need to become cruel to become strong. You do not need to become heartless to become powerful. You do not need to become like the people who hurt you. You simply need to become disciplined enough to stop allowing them to control you. Because the moment you can control yourself, the moment you can control your reactions, the moment you can control your attention, the moment you can control who receives access to your life, you become a person that manipulation struggles to reach, a person that disrespect cannot easily break, a person that rejection cannot destroy, a person that toxic people cannot easily control, and that person is unstoppable. Not because the world suddenly becomes easier, but because you finally stop making your strength dependent on how the world treats you. So the next time someone tries to walk over you, remember, you do not have to shout, you do not have to threaten, you do not have to prove anything. You can simply observe, you can choose. You can set the boundary, and if necessary, you can walk away. Because sometimes the most powerful sentence you will ever say is not, "How dare you treat me this way?" It is, "You no longer have access to me." And sometimes the greatest victory is not making someone regret losing you. It is realizing that losing access to you was their loss, but losing yourself was never an option. Stay calm, stay disciplined, stay difficult to manipulate, and above all, never again give someone else the power to decide how you feel about yourself. That power belongs to you. It always did.